Thanks, Fred and Ray. Thank you for the prayer and the reading. Appreciate that. And just also, Chris, thank you for the donation of your phone credit card reader that fell in water. It's dried out yet, or is it toast?
It's toast.
We got to work something else out for next time. But I appreciated you making that available. Several things before we get to our speaker. I've asked Chris, this was spearheaded during his time as presidency, or as president, and I'd like him to present the check. Rebecca Goddard is here from the Crisis Center to receive it. This is from our Rotary Club. It's part of those pork burgers at work.
I kind of feel like a fraud doing this because if there's one Rotarian who spearheaded all our efforts for the Crisis Center for many, many years, it's our own John Bellich. So I feel like he should be up here, but he's going to be up here in a minute anyway, so you'll still get to listen to him today. If you could come up here, I would appreciate it. This is only a symbolic check. We do actually have a real check for you, I swear. But during the auction and the different fundraising, we did raise an additional $1,015 for the Crisis Center to go towards the repairs that are needed for different things. We wish it were more, and we will raise more over the years for you. So.
Thank you. This is greatly appreciated.
We don't have balloons for not publishers.
Thank you.
Okay, and at this point, I'd like to ask past district governor and multi-time president of the Rice Center Rotary Club, John Baldwin, up here to induct new members. And I'll be helping him. I'm looking, I think, the sponsorship. It's you and me. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's always great to induct new members to our club, but I was thinking prior to the induction today that has anybody seen our latest Rotarian? I thought I would take some verbiage out of there. Reasons to love Rotary right now. And number one is because we are about to eradicate a disease, and you can be part of it. As many people that have been in Rotary for a long time know that about 30 years ago, Rotary started a drive to eradicate polio throughout the world. And now polio is just this far away with just 2 countries. I think they say there's only about 16 cases so far this year. Number 2, because you are connected to people who take action. And there are people all over the world that are taking action, and I can't read all this because it's too far from my eyes and I didn't type it up. But I can tell you that Gord Kloko, who is a member of our club, went to Lithuania to help make a difference in Lithuania. People in Chicago are providing employment and helping with addiction. People are providing with this one fellow from far, far away invented a shoe for children that went 5 different sizes so they could wear shoes and not have to throw them away all the time. Another fellow from Wisconsin began a library movement with more than 36,000 books exchanged in 50 states, and that's just some things that people are connected by. Because our foundation is 100 years strong this year, and together Rotarians are attacking poverty, disease, lack of education, and bringing peace through grant-funded projects in our areas of focus. Because we know about social networking, in 1905, Paul Harris was looking for some camaraderie. And today that network has 1.2 million members. Among them are connected to other leaders in their own communities and around the world. Because the good you do really gives back to you. Also, membership is more flexible, so if you join here, you're able to visit other clubs, and if you move, you will be able to join a club in that neighborhood. Number 7, because our work to support peace and that conflict, making the world a better place, one person at a time. Number 8, because Rotary scholarships help the best and brightest achieve their goals. Number 8, because science says Rotarians are happier and healthier. And that makes you live longer, Rick. So just remember that. And because our future is bright. So those are some things out of the Rotary magazine. You can read the details if you get the magazine. I also put together some of the things our club has done besides helping the Crisis Center. We sponsor Boy Scouts, present scholarships each year, help high school students through leadership camp, provide coats for the needy, we help with the Miracle Tree, have sponsored the Youth Exchange, sponsored water tanks in Mexico, people who are in communities without water, food drives from the food pantry, Habitat for Humanity, Rensselaer Central High School athletics, and of course we're famous for our pork burgers. So those are some of the things, just some of the things that we're involved with. Certainly our fellowship here today makes us all a little better, I think. Fellow Rotarians, it's my privilege and pleasure today to welcome in new members to our club. And that is Stephanie Johnson, and also Johnny Galvich. Is Scott Malone here today? Anyway, their names are proposed by Anne-Marie Egan and John Galvich. And I now ask for the members, our members to come forward. If you would please, Anne-Marie, would you come forward as well to sponsor Stephanie? You sit around here. You've been selected by the members of the Rotary Club of Rensselaer to become one of us. Membership in Rotary is an honor and a privilege with corresponding duties and obligations, including service on club committees. And know that Rotary's motto is service above self. Community will know and judge Rotary by your actions. Therefore, membership in our organization must be limited to those who possess the qualities that further the goals and the ideals of Rotary. You've been chosen for membership because we are confident that the image and ideals are safe in your keeping. I now ask that your sponsor provide you with the Rotary pin, and that we expect you to wear that daily with pride. It is with great pleasure that we welcome you as fellow members of the Rotary Club of Rensselaer. Congratulations. Thanks, President Bill, for standing for me.
And we're ready to induct Scott Malone, but he wasn't able to be here today. I would like to introduce our guest speaker, Dr.Steve Janco. He runs the Summer Music Master's Program, Master's Degree Program there at St. Joseph's College. He's been doing it now for quite a few years. He filled the very big shoes of Father Larry Hyman, who made that into a nationally renowned program with the help of our own Rotarians, John and Anne-Marie Egan. And they very graciously handed it to Steve, who's been running with the ball very well. So Dr. Janco, please come on up. And let's get started.
Good afternoon. I'm delighted to be among friends who are committed to service and who like to sing. So I'm going to talk a little bit about singing, but first I'd just like to tell you a little bit about our master's degree program at St. Joe's. St. Joe's has been offering a master's degree in church music for 47 years, 47 years now. The college only recently added 2 other master's degrees in recent years, an MBA, Master's in Forensic Science. But our church music and liturgy program here in Rensselaer at St. Joe's is a nationally known program in the Roman Catholic liturgical music world. In fact, we're the largest graduate program training church musicians in the United States today, larger than large universities like Catholic University in Washington. So the students who come to Rensselaer during the summer come from all over the country and even beyond. We have one student, an Episcopalian, who's from California, who'll be graduating this summer. We have students from Florida, North Carolina, Michigan, Ohio, so we're primarily a Midwestern centered program. We had a priest, the rector of the cathedral in Winnipeg, Canada, who came down this summer to take our 3-day Gregorian Chant Institute at the end of June. And he's planning to come and begin studies in composing actually next year. We also have a priest from East Africa, from the country of Malawi. His bishop emailed me 4 years ago, a little over 3 years ago now, and said, I've been looking all over Europe and looking for a program that we think would be suitable for our priest. We like the fact that he can come for 4.5 weeks during the summer and then come home and work during the year. He said, we'd really like to send him to your program, and we hope to be able to pay his way. So how do you say no to a bishop who finds your program in rural Indiana from someplace in East Africa who says, I think this is the best program to help the people of our diocese? So Father Cyprian Ngoma, who's been here for the last 4 summers, this will be his last summer of study. So the program at St. Joe's has always been a summer-based program. So it's not designed primarily as an academic program in theology or a historical program focused on music history or the history of liturgy. It's primarily a program for practitioners. So most of our students are working in churches during the year. Some teach in parochial schools, some are music and liturgy directors in their parishes, but they all make sacrifices to come during the summer. Some of them give up a month's worth of weekend income when they come to study during the summer. But our program is focused on the practice of worship and the making of music as a profession. So we believe in the end that worship is not simply about knowing things or believing things, it's also about doing things and saying things and singing things. So our program is pastorally focused on how students can go back to their own parishes, rural or urban, wealthy or poor, African American, Hispanic, Anglo, whatever it is, go back to their parish, come with solid principles, a good foundation, good musical skills, but then have the pastoral sensibility, the pastoral chops, to be able to go into a place and say, well, this is the church we have, these are the instruments we have, this is the pastor we have, these are the choir members I have, and how can we help make worship come alive in the fullest possible way in local communities? So I like to tell our students, all worship is local. So liturgy, even Roman Catholic liturgy, doesn't exist in a book. And even when it's celebrated at the Vatican and people can watch it on TV, it's celebrated in one place for the people who are there under the circumstances that are there. So for the rest of us, worship only comes alive. Worship only happens when real people in local communities actually gather to pray. So for us, liturgy, I like to call it a where the rubber meets the road kind of orientation. So liturgy has to work. Worship has to be effective in every kind of parish, whether you have a highly skilled organist or whether you simply have a song leader leading the music a cappella on Sunday. You make the most of what you have so that God's people are able to worship in spirit and in truth. So this summer we have about 23, I think, full-time graduate students. We also had 35 people who came to Rensselaer for 3-day intensive courses that we offer during the last week of June. And some of those people came from, as I mentioned, great distances for that. So we touch a goodly number of people. The program was founded in 1960 by Father Larry Hyman, who went to Rome for studies in Gregorian chant and came back to the United States on fire with music and wanting to share what he had learned and help others in the United States prepare to lead music in their colleges and universities, in their religious communities, in their parishes. And so the Rensselaer Program of Church Music and Liturgy, which at the time was called the St. Joseph's Institute of Liturgical Music, was started in 1960, which means we were convening for 4 summers before the Second Vatican Council ever started. So liturgy was celebrated in Latin, training was in Gregorian chant and polyphony, students were getting some background in liturgy, lots of good background in music. And then once Vatican II happened and liturgy changed to English, the Rensselaer program evolved and changed as well. So Father Larry Hyman embraced liturgy and the vernacular languages, and the program evolved. A little known fact that not even many at the college know is that in the mid-1970s, for 5 summers, Father Larry Hyman opened the doors at St. Joe's and welcomed African American Catholic musicians from around the country for a week-long workshop every one of those 5 summers. There were between 100 and 150 African Americans who came, and Father Larry provided them with an opportunity to learn how to worship in the Catholic tradition as well as in the African American musical tradition. So some of the music, actually, that's sung in African American Catholic worship today was actually written here in Rensselaer during the 70s when those musicians gathered. There was a musician from Buffalo, New York, who came every summer with his cassette recorder, and he recorded the sessions. So some of the music was being written and tried out and practiced as people were there in the mix. I learned only 2 years ago that he went home every year, listened to the cassette tapes he made, and he notated the music on paper, and then brought it back the following summer to share with people. What a wonderful service. There's a mass called Gospel Mass that's sung throughout the United States by many college choruses, by community choruses. That was actually, part of it was written here during the summer. Robert Ray, the composer, was a music professor at the University of Illinois and at the University of Missouri. And it's still being sung today. In fact, our summer chorus performed one of the movements from that Mass at our summer concert last year. So every year we hold an annual summer chorus concert. For the last 2 years, this is now the 3rd year we did it at St. Mary's Cathedral in Lafayette, which is it's a beautiful worship space. It has a very nice acoustic for singing, and it has a piano and an organ console down front, which make it an easy space for musicians to come into and be able to perform. So next year I'll make sure the Rotary Club gets our poster so you all can know when that's happening. It's a wonderful concert every year. I'd like to make a few comments about singing. So one of the things I like to tell our students is that singing is integral to worship. And actually, singing is used by every kind of culture and different kinds of groups to promote unity and group identity. Hence, Rotarians have their own songbook even, of songs that you sing together that no other group sings. Right? You don't sing them in your church. The song we sang today, Kiwanis folks don't sing about being Rotarian. So when you all sing those songs, it's one way that you express and you kind of reinforce your identity as Rotarians. And when you join your voices together as one, singing in unison, everybody singing at the same tempo, whether or not the song is your favorite kind of music, let's face it, we all have our own personal preferences when it comes to music. But when we come together in church or come together in a group like this and we all sing together, we're making a decision to go beyond our own preferences and our comfort zone and to join our voices together with others in the group. So I like to believe that when we sing together in one voice, we're really singing ourselves into a greater spirit of community. Whether that's here at lunchtime meetings, or whether it's in our various churches. Everybody has to give up something when you're a member of a group. No matter what church you belong to, everybody sits kind of on the same uncomfortable pews or chairs or whatever you happen to have. We don't reserve seats for the biggest contributors in the front. We don't put the sick people in the back. Everybody joins together. And I think when we sing together, whether you're the minister or the priest or the choir members or the wealthiest or the poorest or the youngest or the oldest, we're all kind of on an equal footing when we sing together. And it's one way that we express, using a gift that God has given us, we express our fundamental unity, that there's an equality that we share that goes beyond the kinds of distinctions that the world often likes to use to divide people from one another and set people apart. So, singing, I think, helps to form us in community. In the Roman Catholic liturgy on Sundays, we sing psalms in what we call responsorial form, and perhaps you do in your churches as well, where there's a refrain that everybody joins in singing, and then maybe the verses are sung by a cantor or a soloist or by the choir. And after each of those verses, the congregation comes back in with the refrain. Well, I like to think that when we sing in that way, we're expressing community, that there are different aspects to community. So when we sing in that form, not everybody does everything all at once. And isn't it true in our lives that we can't do everything for ourselves? There are certain people in certain professions within our church communities that have special gifts and talents who take time to practice, to study, to earn degrees, to get certificates and licenses, so that they can perform service for others that people can't perform for themselves. So I like to think we express our interdependence when we sing that way. So there are some people who serve the community by using their musical gifts, by taking time to practice, and then at some of those times, we, the rest of us, are called to listen and to be receptive of the gifts of others. For those of us who like to be in control all the time, who like to be self-sufficient, it's a time when the soloist or the cantor is singing. We all don't get to sing at that time. We sit and we listen. We take it in. And then after that, we're called to respond. So I like to think that that style of singing in some ways reflects what I believe my relationship with God is. God speaks, and I listen. And then I'm called to respond. And then I listen some more, and then I'm called to respond again. And then I listen some more, and I'm called to respond again. It's a dialogue that takes place. I also like to think that it kind of embodies a healthy life. So there are times when you're active, times when you work, times when you're called upon to serve, and then there are other times when you need to let somebody else serve you, when you need to let someone minister to you. And for many of us, I think it's a reminder that we need to listen more. I think for myself, I like to talk. Talk to my students in class. I talk way too much. But there are times when we're called to listen to others' viewpoints, to listen within the lines for what's being said and what's being spoken, so that we might then respond more appropriately, more faithfully, with a greater spirit of service. So, keep singing. Our program at St. Joe's is, as I mentioned, the largest program in the country. We're keeping growing. We're branching out in new ways. I've been teaching St. Joe classes on Monday nights at the church where I work in Chicago, which gives part-time musicians who have full-time jobs and who can't get away for a month in the summer an opportunity as well to benefit from what our program has to offer. So please keep us in your prayers. And St. Augustine, we thank folks at St. Augustine for their hospitality. We kind of drop in on them for the Sundays of the month of July, and we appreciate their hospitality and those who are music ministers in the parish. So, thank you for having me today.
Any questions for Dr. Janco? Stay out here, as one of those grumpy pastors that often gets in a fight with the music people about, how many songs are you going to do? I have to remind myself of two things. One is Sister Emerencia, who when we were in grade school said, singing is praying twice.
St. Augustine said that.
Well, they must have nun courses on how to promote them. The other is I have to admit in my own career, I've never seen anyone sleeping during the singing, but I can't say the same during my homilies. So maybe there is something to that singing stuff. But I wanted you to be aware of how much work our music people put into giving us good music and liturgy. It's not an accident, or we stayed at the Holiday Inn Express one night. They really worked hard to help us to be able to worship and song and enjoy, and we really appreciate that. And as our thank you for being our speaker, I know you have, when you're singing, you have to wet your whistle once in a while, and this will keep your liquid refreshments in there to do so.
Thank you very much. One little thing I didn't mention before, when I was in high school, I was president of the Key Club at my high school. And I was a peanut hawker on street corners. So anyway, I wasn't a Rotarian. I was part of the Kiwanis back then. But if I were today, I'd be a Rotarian. Thank you very much.
Now you're an honorary. And Orville, where are we with our drawing? $267. And for our guests, what we do is we sell raffle tickets, and half of the money goes to our charities, and the other half will go to the winner of the raffle. And you win by drawing the Queen of Hearts.
All right. Last three digits are 220.
All right. Drum roll.
We're rooting for you, lady.
Thank you. You get to keep the card as a souvenir.
Oh.